every success that we're trying to achieve in the city, whether it's reducing crime, strengthening neighborhoods, providing better opportunities for our children, attracting jobs, and even increasing and improving the health of our citizens, is dependent upon the quality of education that we can provide, particularly public education.
The RBC can play a great role in advocating for school reform because the RBC has become a very well-respected organization throughout the region. And because of that respect, I think that we can get things done. We've demonstrated that we get things done.
Through the years at Civic Progress and being on the Education Committee and then chairing the Education Committee, I've had the opportunity to work closely with RBC on a number of educational issues, Tony Thompson in particular, and the collaboration has been perfect. The alignment of interest of the business community is very strong in terms of what we see needing to be done and supporting each other in steps to do it. And I think RBC and Civic Progress collaborate on a number of issues outside of education, but I would say our collaboration in the education area has probably been the strongest area that I've seen over the last few years.
The department provides support and oversees 522 school districts and 51 charter schools throughout the state of Missouri. We serve close to 1 million students in public education in our state. Our Top 10 by 20 plan outlines really 3 major goals. The first of those is to standards and assessments. We need to continue to keep our standards very high. The second goal has to do with educator quality. If we're going to get to high standards and high performance, we have to have the very best teachers and leaders in our schools. And the third has to do with early childhood education.
So we have 2.1 million students, we have 869 districts, which is a lot of districts, and we have about 4,400 buildings, public and non-public combined. Of course, we've been working on a few things here to try to reform education in Illinois that are important. One of them is just overall teacher and administrator quality, and I feel like we haven't been paying close enough attention to this, not only as a state but as a nation. We made some changes here in Illinois about a year ago to raise expectations for teachers coming into the profession, and our enrollments in teacher training dropped off precipitously. Another heavy lift for us are just dealing with low-performing districts that don't have the governance or administration to do the job, and we have to intervene in those cases.
One of the opportunities that I think Missouri has is to attract a much larger pool and a much more talented pool of teachers, whether they're education majors or people who are qualified to teach particular subjects like language, science, math, and make sure that every good teacher wants to come to Missouri.
Dr. Adams uses data to judge the performance of people on his own staff, principals in the school, teachers in the school, and when that data shows there's not success, there's first an effort to retrain, provide further professional development at whatever level it might be, and if that training doesn't prove to be successful, he doesn't hesitate to make a change. So he's looking for the best leaders to head each school. He's looking for the best leaders as teachers in the classroom and is really working to expand the professional development at all levels for all people.
We focused on principal leadership. With this many school buildings, we can bring things to scale if we ensure that the leadership in buildings is there. You have to have the leadership to bring your instructional staff around. So we had some reforms around principal leadership that have gotten national attention over the last few years. Again, we spent a lot of time doing that, and we have to keep bringing our higher ed institutions and others forward with us to say, here's what we've got to be doing, here's the kinds of skills and knowledge that these individuals have to be able to demonstrate on day one.
Again, it always comes back to the people, and in this case, people at the governance level, as well as people in the classroom. Still a lot of room for improvement, still a lot of opportunities to strengthen leadership all the way up and down that pyramid, but I think we're in the strongest position we've been in decades.
One of the things that we've been very interested in with from Teach for America is their recruiting strategy and the methods that they use to train and evaluate teachers. I think that you know, the establishment in education can learn some things from Teach for America and others about different ways of doing things and different ways of preparing a teaching force that we may not have considered before.
There are, you know, thousands of teachers here and hundreds of principals and staff level, and opportunities to continue to upgrade our staff support our teachers better, but also have better teachers doing better teaching remains a fundamental challenge.
This is about better than average, way better than average, because our kids are depending on us. And if we have to lift them up from being behind, we're going to have to work even extra hard and have extra talent.
One group recently I met with was Students First, Michelle Ree's group. I think that certainly their interest is very much aligned with ours in terms of quality educators.
There's also some other leadership organizations that help support teacher and principal education, like New Leaders for New Schools and the New Teacher Project. And I think all of those would be very, very successful in Missouri and help all of us do a much better job for our children.
Our primary focus has been on opening new quality charter schools. In the past 5 years, we have opened 13 charter schools. We now have about 25 charter schools in the city with over 11,000 children that are attending that. I've created a process in my office to help identify quality charter school operators and then connect them with quality charter school sponsors and also help them find buildings.
What if we actually encouraged entrepreneurship to create new schools, to bring new charters, to really rethink the educational model that exists in this country, and to turn these buildings into vital, fun, educational institutions again?
We have been very blessed and pleased to have a KIPP school here that has been extraordinary. I mean, they have a national presence, they have national reputation of excellence, and now we're starting to see that unfold here in St. Louis.
We do not have enough quality high schools. It's relatively easy to start a charter school at an elementary school level and perhaps even at a middle school level, but the resources that are required in order to really have a strong high school require far more substantial resources and something that really needs to be put together in a cohesive plan.
Those charter schools who are not performing well, we want to be very instrumental in making sure that they are eliminated and closed out properly and professionally to move on, because they are sucking resources that aren't really yielding the results that we're looking for.
I think one of the things that's going to get a great deal of attention certainly is the foundation formula, and another has to do with some resolution for the Turner case.
We've been able to help engage and make sure that some of the legislation are active, either through the formulas that are necessary to make sure that funding is proportionally spread along the right schools throughout the district.
We know that there's a $500 million hole in the state budget left by the ERA funds coming to a close. What that means is that it's going to be very difficult for the legislature to find the funds, not only to fully fund the formula, and I don't think anybody's talking about that, but just to maintain where we are.
I think a good solution for all parties involved is critical to the Turner case.
We have issues like the Turner decision that's hanging out there, which I think needs to be fixed. I think it needs to be fixed in this coming session. It's a dark cloud hanging over St. Louis public schools and frankly all school districts in the St. Louis area.
From the department's perspective, we've been working closely with school districts, with legislators, with others to try to figure out what's the best solution. We know that under current law, children who live in unaccredited school districts have a right to go to a school in that county or an adjoining county to an accredited school. What was new with the Supreme Court decision was that the receiving schools must take the children. Right now, we're very concerned about the legislation that really doesn't keep charter schools accountable either for financial management or for student performance. And we've spoken out pretty strongly against some of the charter schools that have been in existence. We believe if they're not performing well, then they should not stay open.
One of the things that we've proposed at the state level is to get mayoral sponsorship of charter schools. They have that in Annapolis and New York. We'd like to see that in St. Louis.
We've got a good reform agenda that the public is behind. We've passed legislation in this state that is admirable and that has to be implemented with integrity. So I think all those things are putting us in a good place and on a positive trajectory as a state. These kinds of reforms in this work takes tenacity, patience, but diligence in keeping our eyes on the prize of what we'd like to see.
education should not be about people's egos, politics, jobs, contracts. It should be solely about what's best for the children.
I just look for the St. Louis community to continue to be involved, continue to be supportive, and recognizing that if we can all be successful in bringing back the glory of St. Louis Public Schools, bringing it back to a really honored, respected, and successful school district, the entire St. Louis region will benefit from that.
There's no clear correlation between the quality of the community and the quality of the education that community provides. And that quality of education has to be more than just suburban schools. It has to be all schools. So we have our work cut out for us in terms of raising the educational levels in this whole region. And we're talking both Missouri and Illinois side in this case.
There is no one answer. There is no silver bullet. All these things have to work together if we're going to see some significant changes and reform. Everyone has to understand it, everyone has to buy into it, and everyone has to roll up their sleeve and get involved with it.